Hello YouTube, how you doing? It is September 1st. That fast. Labor Day weekend. My son left out for school and I'm gonna talk about it because it's on my mind. So let's talk about it. Michael Jackson. So as you all know, he was a legend. He actually died June 2009. He was born in August. His birthday just passed. I believe it was the 29th. And yeah, he was like the greatest artist of all time, period. They equate him to Beyonce. She's like the new MJ. But I feel like Michael Jackson was so much better because he embraced all genres of music. And Beyonce is limited to a certain extent. She's great, but I feel like, Michael Jackson was just very open-minded, and he did pop, he did R&B, he did hip-hop. In the album Invincible, he has a song called Unbreakable featuring Biggie Smalls. And I don't know when Biggie recorded it because he died in 97, but it's dope. So if y'all don't know that song, that's your homework assignment. Look up Unbreakable. That's my favorite MJ song, period, because featuring Biggie Smalls, like, how can you dislike that record? It's like he knew how hot Biggie was. And I'm sure Biggie would have been very proud. And it's too bad that they didn't do a song together while Biggie was alive. But I love that song. I love that song. That album is my favorite album. A lot of older people don't like it because it flopped. He only sold 2 million. But that album was dope. You got the Rock My World. Floetry is on there. It was a really good album. It really was. I remember being in 7th grade, and there's a song called You Could Change the World, and we had to dance to it. And I remember all the lyrics because naturally in rehearsals you play it over and over again. And yeah, I just love it. Like that was my favorite album from Michael Jackson. But I wanted to talk about a little bit of everything with him. And of course, I'm always getting into debates on Instagram, of course. I need to stay away from Instagram for like the rest of the year because it's just constant stupidity that I find myself in. So I haven't argued with nobody in a few weeks, like a week, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the Chinese food thing, whatever. But that wasn't really an argument. But yeah, so with this one, somebody put up something, and now it's to a point when people are putting up stuff just for views. Somebody put up a thing with him and Whitney Houston, and they like look at his eyes. He was so attracted to her. Like what? Like not him trying to holler at her, none of that. They just talking about his eyes alone. And so I commented and I put, boy, he didn't like no black women. So somebody put, oh, he loved black women. He had a fling with Naomi Campbell. He dated Diana Ross. Cap. Those are all lies. Like, why would Diana Ross date Michael Jackson? Like, not throwing shade to Michael, but come on. Michael was a good artist, talented, but you could just tell he was corny. Like, nobody want to date Michael. Like, so I'm like, what the hell? And she was old as hell. Like, are you serious? Like, it's people who really believe that they actually dated. No, they did not. No, they did not at all. Oh, he had a fling with Naomi Campbell. Like, no, he didn't. She was in his music video and that was it. Like, what? And then on top of that, if he really cared for black women, don't you think he would have married one? Like, at the end of the day, a man knows what he wants, including Michael. Now, 2 years ago on a podcast, Stephanie Mills came forward and said that they dated when they were teenagers. She also explained that she would be at the house for weeks at a time and spend the night, and Michael never made no moves on her. Now, I'm not saying you have to have sex when you a teenager. I didn't have sex until I was 18. But for a teenage boy to have his girlfriend spend the night for weeks at a time and he doesn't at least touch her or kiss her, is either one or two things. Either he's gay or he's not attracted to her, right? So my guess, I never thought that Michael was gay. I never felt those vibes from him. People thought a lot of people did think he was gay. I didn't think he was gay. I think he was just he was a little metrosexual, not really feminine. I don't know. I can't explain it. But yeah, I don't think he was gay. But it's kind of obvious black women was not his first choice. I mean, his first wife was white, Elvis Presley's daughter, and his second wife was white. So what does that tell y'all? Like, his baby mama, his surrogate, was white. He didn't even want black children. And a lot of people say, oh, he had vitiligo and this and that. True, but you have models, and I wanted to talk about that. You have models that have vitiligo, and guess what? They don't touch it. Any dermatologist would tell you you're not supposed to put any makeup or anything on it. And Michael came on an interview and said that he uses makeup to even it out. You're not supposed to do that. Secondly, if you know that you're born African American, why not use brown makeup and concealer, foundation and concealer? He could have used brown foundation. Why are you using white foundation? That never made sense to me. So, and then coincidentally, he marries twice to white women, and then he had a white surrogate. He could have had a black. Why you gotta have a white surrogate? Why you can't have a? It just shows you that he did not want black children. And Billie Jean, they said how somebody, now this is a rumor because we don't really know if this person's telling the truth, but they said how somebody about 5 years ago took a DNA test. They said that was Michael Jackson's son. So the song was based off of a black woman that he had a child with and never claimed. The child is not my son. So allegedly, this guy took a DNA test and said that that's why it's a rumor, because how he gonna take a DNA test and MJ is dead, and none of his siblings came forward and said that, because that's the only way that you could do a DNA test with a dead person. You have to DNA test their sibling or their living relative. None of his brothers, Janet, his sister, nobody came forward and said, okay, yes, this person took a DNA test, this is my nephew. So obviously that might have been a rumor. But if it's not, again, that says a lot how he feels about black women. So also the discrepancy is somebody commented and said he was a pedophile. So the guy from Home Alone said that his mother told him to lie or whatever, and then the alleged victims came forward and said that it was lies. So as far as we know, that it was lies. However, those of you who watched the interview, Michael Jackson came out and said, "What's wrong with sharing your bed?" If you remember that, the ABC 7 special. So that was a little sus. And I remember the interview where he was holding hands with a 12-year-old. The boy was 12, and they was holding hands like this. Not like this, but like this. So it made you wonder. Then on top of that, he never had black children and I remember saying that to my dad and to my mom. I'm like, why he never have black children at Neverland? It's always white kids. Like, that's something I could never understand. The only time he did anything for black children is when he, Africa with the starving, the needy African children or whatever. And he used to go to hospitals. Elizabeth Taylor said how he used to go to hospitals for sick children and stuff like that. But to everyone's knowledge, he never brought black children to the Neverland Ranch. And no one ever asked him why. Like, I thought that was weird. Like, why is it that Like, do you have an issue with black children or something? Like, why they can't come see your mansion and your property? Like, that's important. I feel like, especially where he's from, Indiana, you know how many children from Indiana, even right now, they probably never been on a plane. They probably never seen nothing nice. And so you're going to have white children that already been exposed to riches in your house. Like, the boy from Home Alone, he was an actor. So he didn't need to be around Michael Jackson. He already knew wealth. He already knew what it was to have nice things. So that's one thing I didn't understand about, you know, with Michael. Why you don't have black kids on your ranch? It just, you know, just the telltale signs over and over again. He just did not want to be black. Then BET never invited him, and I don't blame them. Like, him and Janet was so different in every way. Like, Janet, she was in a Tyler Perry movie. Janet was on Good Times. Janet was on 106 in Park. Like, Janet was on she was in Poetic Justice with Tupac. Like, Janet is black, not just by color but by culture as well. She embraces the culture and the culture embraces her back. And Michael just, you know, he's just MTV, you know. So it was always that disconnect with Michael and the black community, and everybody knows it but nobody talks about it. But I'm talking about it today. Why is it that Michael Jackson distanced himself from the black community? Nobody knows. What we do know is his father did harass him about his nose. His nose used to be very wide, and he spoke about how his father made him feel very bad about his image. And so that's when he started to do surgery on his nose, right? Later on, he gets into an accident during a Pepsi commercial, and he burns his hair. His Jerry curls catch on fire, and then shortly after that, he gets vitiligo. I don't know, but it's just the series of events, and he literally went from black to white. And I don't know if y'all remember this, and a lot of people may disagree because they're so in love with Michael Jackson. When Michael Jackson's skin changed, he got way famous. Like, I kid you not. Like, he was always famous, but when the stadium was full of him and people was passing out, he was white during that. His skin was white at that time, right? He was famous, but he wasn't that famous until his skin color changed. And that's why I feel like he did that on purpose, just to gain more popularity. Because I'm 1,000% sure that if he would have stayed black, he would have never been that famous. I really believe that. And what a coincidence that once his skin color started changing, because at the end of the day, with vitiligo, it's a very funny thing. He literally went from brown to light brown. It didn't just go straight to, if you notice, the complexion got whiter and whiter and whiter. It didn't start like that. It was like progression. That's how you know it was makeup, because there's no fucking way that, oh, he had vitiligo and whatever. Again, when you have vitiligo, it's patches, right? It's patches. So if you put in makeup to cover it up, how the hell you gonna go from brown to light brown to, like, if y'all look at him carefully, from Thriller to what's that song with Chris Tucker, You Rock My World? That's so many shades right there. From Thriller, watch all his videos. Like, my father, he's a diehard fan, so he has all his videos. Like, he had the history. You study his complexion from Thriller to Rock My World, you could see the color change. That's not, vitiligo. That's makeup. Different makeup that he just was getting lighter. It got to a point when it was like what the hell? His whole face was just done. And then it was told that he couldn't sleep at night. So he started taking sleeping pills and they progressed to something else. And eventually what led to his death was him taking too much of it and it stopped his heart. So they wanted to blame the doctor because the doctor kept giving it to him. But ultimately, Michael Jackson had issues with accepting himself as a black man. That's what it really was. That's what it really is. He probably had depression. And though he was rich and famous, he was very, very, very unhappy. He was very alone. He had a big family, but they were very dysfunctional. One of them he owed money to. He died broke. Like, it was, because he had to pay off a lot of people because of those allegations. And they treated him horribly. When he was accused of the child molestation thing, they came into his house and they stripped him naked in his own home with no warrant. And it just come to show you that it doesn't matter how rich and famous you are, they will treat you like nothing. They came into that man's house and ripped his pants because basically one of the alleged victims described his penis. So they came in to look at his penis because they wanted to see if the child was lying or not. That I could only imagine how Michael felt and how humiliating that was, because it's like you coming into my house to look at my private parts to see if somebody's telling the truth. And then this is the part that's really crazy. His first wife, right? She passed away this year, by the way. Lisa Marie Presley died on January 12th, 2023. But a few years ago, this is about 10 years ago, she was on Oprah. She was on Oprah twice. The second time she was on Oprah, Oprah asked her, do you know if he really molested any kids? And she said her honest answer is she don't know. And she says she don't know because he would do things that were very strange. So one of the things he would do is he would go away, lie and say one time, he was like, oh, I'm going away, I'm going on vacation with my brothers, right? So he come back and then he revealed to her later on, like weeks or months later, that he didn't go away with his brothers, he went away with children. And it's like he had an obsession with children. And it got to a point that's why she left him, because she's like, you got all these accusations and stuff going against you. Why you keep hanging out with the children? Like, just leave them. And she was like, listen, I get it. You love children. But why don't you just leave them alone for a while until this clears up? Like, why would you put yourself in that situation? And he's like, oh, they innocent. They didn't do nothing. It's like, she says she felt like he was cheating on her with children. Because that's how it felt. Like how a man that's cheating and has a mistress, she's like, that's how it felt, but with children. You can't compete with that. You can't compete with that. And my whole thing is, yeah, why would you risk your livelihood for some kids that don't even know you? For some kids that don't even, it's sad. It's crazy. So her honest answer was she honestly did not know if he was doing the things that he was accused of or not, because he never did it in front of her. She never heard anything in the house of screaming or anything. The kids seemed fine. Nobody came to her for help and said, oh, he's doing this and this to me. Nobody ever came up to her and said anything. From what she saw, he was a very loving, nice guy to the kids. But he did lie to her on a few occasions. People felt like he was using her as a cover-up because when he first was accused of all of that, they got married so hastily. Like, nobody even knew that they were dating. And he just married her so hastily. And so that raised eyebrows, like, where did she come from and why did he marry her? and it seemed like he did it to cover up what he was accused of. But nobody really knows what happened beside them kids. Now, you do have people that have come forward and said it wasn't true. It was 2 guys that came on ABC and was like, they admitted that they lied and it wasn't true or whatever. And then the boy from Home Alone, he admitted that his mother told him to lie to get money. So, but I said all that to say this. Michael Jackson was the greatest artist ever to have stepped on the stage, but one thing he lacked was self-love. You can have all the money and the fame, but if you don't love you, the world will hate you. I'm gonna say that again. If you don't love you, the world will hate you. They will chew you and they will spit you out. And the same people that love Michael, they turned on him and accused him. And I could only imagine what that's like to be accused of being a pedophile. Like, that's like the worst thing to be accused of. His whole reputation was ruined to the point that you still have people that believe it today, so many years after he passed away. This man died in 2009 and people still believe that he did that. So that's sad. That's horrible, you know. And yeah, I would never want to be a Michael Jackson. You know, people say, oh, you know, he was so rich, whatever, but it was to the point that he couldn't even really, like, the girl from The Way You Make Me Feel, rumor had it that he wanted to date her, but he couldn't, and they told the girl to leave him alone or whatever. I don't know. We don't really know if it was Michael that was in control of that, because Lisa Marie Presley said that he was like a god. So if anything he wanted was at his footstool, drugs, food, whatever he wanted. So if he really wanted women, I'm pretty sure he could have got that too. They make it seem like his mom and all of them was controlling, and the girl that was in the video, The Way You Make Me Feel, she came on tour, and then there was a segment when she kissed him and she got fired for kissing him, and they was like, you can't kiss him, da 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 da. And she's like, what? Like, these, mind you, The Way You Make Me Feel, Michael was like 25 at this time. He was a grown man, or maybe older. And yeah, this is when his skin first started changing, and she was like, she got fired for kissing him. That's very strange. It's almost as if they wanted him to be this innocent creature. They wanted him to portray innocence, and it's like, what? He's a grown damn man, you know. And then Oprah, she asked him, oh, you know, if he was a virgin. Which is something that people wondered, because he portrayed himself to be so pure. So people wanted to know. Makes sense, you know. But yeah, rest in peace, MJ. And it just shows of what not to do when you're famous. Like, you know, don't have people in your house. I'm poor and I don't have a bunch of people in my house, because people get jealous. Even with the little bit that you have, people get jealous. You know, so imagine a guy like Michael Jackson. He got the damn Neverland Ranch. So people get jealous. You know, you get people in your house and stuff. People want to, and that's what happened. He was too nice. He let people in his house, and it was to his demise in the end. It's a shame. So self-hate mixed with drugs, mixed with childhood traumas that he never got over, all of that consumed him in the end. And it's sad. And those are my thoughts.